Hi all, welcome. In this video, we are discussing the chapter The Ink and the Melody, which is written by Joseph Barbera. Now, let us have a look on the author Joseph Barbera. Joseph Barbera is an American animator, a cartoon artist, director, as well as a producer. He is also the co founder of the animation studio Hanna-Barbera. Along with William Hanna, he created the famous cartoon Tom and Jerry. You all know Tom and Jerry, right? Joseph Barbera is one of the creators of that masterpiece. And his other animated cartoons are The Flintstones, Scooby Doo, so and so. So that's all about the author. And now let's move on to the chapter The Ink and the Melody. Actually, this is a story of the meeting of two legends. Two legends means one is Michael Jackson and the other, obviously, the author of the story, Joseph Barbera. Did you notice the title? The title itself is interesting here. That is The Ink and the Melody. So, ink is signifying to something, also, melody is signifying to something else. So, what is ink signifying here? Yes, ink is signifying to the author itself, that is Joseph Barbera. And melody, yes, of course, it's relating to Michael Jackson. Now, moving on to the content, I chose to be called creative consultant, though I might well have been designated as producer, co producer, executive producer, or dishwasher. I had one of the best times in my life working in that capacity with Phil and his people on the Tom and Jerry movie. So, what is this paragraph referring to? Here, the author, that is Joseph Barbera, he is telling us that people call him or people knew him as a producer, a co producer, executive producer, or even as a dishwasher. But what he liked to be called or what he choose to be called as a creative consultant. And he's telling that I had one of the best times in my life working in that capacity with Phil and his people on the Tom and Jerry movie. He's then telling that he had one of the best times in his life. Like, when was that? When he was working as a creative consultant with Phil on the movie Tom and Jerry. Now, who's this Phil? Phil is actually the director of the movie Tom and Jerry. Okay, moving on to the second paragraph. While the movie was in production, I met, in fact, I had a series of 5 meetings with a young man who's very much in the news as a writer. Sometime in 1992, Michael Jackson, an avid cartoon buff, contacted me to discuss the probability of writing on some project together. Who could say no? My first thought was to make a deal for him to sing a song in the Tom and Jerry feature. During our first meeting in his apartment on Wilshire Boulevard, he asked me if I had really written all those Tom and Jerry series. No, I said. I drew them. Do you want to see? I asked. So, in this paragraph, it is talking about the two legends meeting. When was that? During the production of the movie, Joseph Barbera met a young man who's very popular at that time. He is further adding that he had seen that young man actually a series of 5 times. Now, who is that young man? Yes, we all know that Barbera is talking about Michael Jackson. So, in 1922, Barbera met an avid cartoon buff. Avid means a person who is highly enthusiastic or highly interested to something. And buff means a person. So here Barbera is describing Jackson as a person who is highly or deeply interested into cartoon. So Jackson contacted Barbera to discuss about the possibility of working on some project. And who could say no to Michael Jackson? Yes, here also what Barbera thought was he thought to make a deal with Michael Jackson to sing a song in the Tom and Jerry feature film. That was the first thought which went through the mind of Joseph Barbera. During our first meeting in his apartment on Wilshire Boulevard, he asked me if I had really written all those Tom and Jerry series. So where did those two legends met? Yes, they met at Michael Jackson's apartment in Wilshire Boulevard. Wilshire Boulevard is somewhat a place in Los Angeles. Okay, so they met at an apartment of Michael Jackson, and out of curiosity, Michael Jackson asked Joseph Barbera that, "Do you wrote all those Tom and Jerry series?" And what did Joseph Barbera replied? He said, "No." And what did he said that? He said, "No, I drew them all." And he further asked, "Do you want to see? Do you want to see how usually I do that?" He nodded, sprang out of the room, and returned with a pad and some marker. I took them and started marking sketches of a cartoon, one of my favorites called Bowling Alley Cat, depicting the action and the atmosphere. Michael looked over my shoulder, whispering in that high, thin, breathy voice of his, "Wow and wow." I stopped at the fifth sketch. "Would you like me to autograph them?" "Oh, yes," he whispered. "Now, how about me getting an autograph?" I asked. I pointed to a poster he had showing himself and a little girl. "It was," he said, "his niece Nicole." "Can you autograph the poster?" "Oh, yes," he whispered and began to write. "What is this? The Gettysburg Address?" "You'll see. Please read it. Read it aloud." So, when Joseph Barber asked, "Do you want to see how he usually drew them?" Michael Jackson nodded his head and sprang out means he moved out. He moved out of the room and came back with a pad and some marker. Hmm. Then Joseph Barbera took it and started to draw one of his favorite character, which is that Bowling Alley Cat, which is an episode of Tom and Jerry series. Then what was Jackson doing? Michael Jackson was looking from above and he's whispering what? Wow. Like out of surprise, he's whispering wow in his high, thin, breathy voice. Noticing this, what did Barbara asked? Barbara asked, "Should I autograph them?" To which Michael Jackson replied, "Oh yes." That is, he wanted autograph of Joseph Barbera. And now Joseph Barbera asked the autograph of Michael Jackson. He pointed a poster of Michael Jackson where he is standing with his niece Nicole. He asked an autograph on that poster. Michael Jackson agreed to give autograph on that poster and he started to write something on that poster. Seeing Jackson writing, Joseph Barber asked, "What's this? The Gettysburg Address?" "You'll see. Please read it. Read it aloud." So here, this is what Michael Jackson wrote on that poster. "To my hero of yesterday, today, and tomorrow, with many thanks for all the many cartoon friends you gave me as a child. They were all I had. So, what did Michael Jackson wrote there? He is Michael Jackson is seeing Barbera as his hero of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. For what? For giving all those cartoon characters which made his childhood for more beautiful. Those were all he had during his childhood days. So he is thankful to Barbera for all those cartoon characters which he made. In that paragraph, there is something mentioned Gettysburg speech or Gettysburg address. What is that? Gettysburg Address is the famous speech delivered by the President Abraham Lincoln during the American Civil War on 19 November 1863. In the speech, he refers to democracy as the government of the people, by the people, for the people. Here, as Jackson writes the autograph, Barbera asks if it is going to be as long as the Gettysburg Address. So, what is Gettysburg Address? It is a speech which is delivered by the President Abraham Lincoln at the time of American Civil War, in which he defined democracy as of the people, by the people, and for the people. When Michael Jackson keeps writing the autograph, Joseph Barbera is asking him whether it is going to be as long as the Gettysburg Address. Moving on to the last paragraph, I found him to be a laid back and courteous gentleman, which is a great deal more than you can say about most of the people in our industry. As I turned out, the executives of great American communications had no interest in doing a deal with Michael Jackson, and nothing further came out of these meetings. Nevertheless, my meetings with him were delightful. So, Barbera sees Jackson as an easygoing, good mannered gentleman, which means a personality like that of Jackson is very rare to be found anywhere in the industry. And what about their meeting? Actually, their meeting ended up with the executives of Great American Communication who had no interest in having a deal with Jackson. That is, the Great American Communications have no interest in doing a deal with Michael Jackson. So, nothing further moved on the matter. But our meeting between us is very delightful. That is, even though the mm, even though the deal is not gonna happen, but their meeting is very pleasant and great to be remembered. So that's all. Thank you.